Time again for the news here on Rwanda Television. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this latest edition. My name is Serge Hore. Let us start with the headlines. Rwanda and Kazakhstan have signed cooperation agreements in several areas, including diplomatic and political consultations, technology, education, agriculture, finance, and mineral exploration. The annual summit of Financial Alliance for Women is being held here in Kigali. And on the international scene, the UN is warning that 4.4 million people in Somalia are on the brink of starvation. Now straight to the details. Thank you again for taking the time to join us. President Paul Kagame has noted that the agreements signed between Rwanda and Kazakhstan are built on a strong foundation of friendship and cooperation between the two countries. He made the remarks during a joint press briefing with his Kazakhstani counterpart. President Kagame is on official visit to the country, where he arrived on Tuesday. On Wednesday, he held a private meeting with President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Their discussions focused on shared goals in achieving sustainable development. Rwanda and Kazakhstan also signed cooperation agreements in several areas, as we noted earlier, including diplomatic and political consultations, technology, education, agriculture, finance, and mineral exploration. President Kagame emphasized that these agreements are rooted in a solid base of mutual friendship and partnership.
Countries are good friends and partners, and we want to build on this strong foundation to further deepen our partnership. As you have witnessed with the signing of the agreements, we intend to explore more opportunities for collaboration, whether in the fields of trade, technology, or agriculture. Our two countries are eager to learn from each other. We welcome the General Cooperation Agreement on critical minerals between the Rwanda Mining Board and Samri-Kazyan. Rwanda can benefit immensely from Kazakhstan's know-how, especially in the field of energy, mining, and mineral processing. In Rwanda, we are investing in our local manufacturing capacity, notably in vaccines, which Kazakhstan has also been doing. We look forward to building on this shared experience to continue innovating for the mutual benefit of our people.
President Tokayev commended Rwanda for its 8% annual economic growth and institutional rebuilding efforts. He also expressed Kazakhstan's interest in strengthening its relations with African countries. Before concluding his visit, President Kagame visited the National Space Center of Kazakhstan on Wednesday afternoon to explore possible areas of collaboration in space-related initiatives. The First Lady of Rwanda, Excellency Jeannette Kagame, has noted that women's economic power is no longer a peripheral one, but one that is at the epicenter of building resilient, inclusive economies. This was reiterated during the ongoing two-day annual summit of Financial Alliance for Women being held here in Kigali. Adam Squizera with more on that.
Accessing financial services remains a challenge for many, as highlighted by participants and leaders from financial institutions attending the forum. Kameta Sainzoga, the CEO of BRD, and Dr. Diane Karusisi, the CEO of Bank of Kigali, noted that empowering women begins with giving them a platform in decision-making conversations. They stressed that women tend to be more reliable than men in repaying loans and therefore should be better supported by financial institutions.
Now, the way we look at this role is really not so much how do we help women access the table, but rather how do we have deep conversations about how we change the table so that it becomes a fair table for women. And what does that mean in the financial sector? What it means in the financial sector is that we are not trying to help women access existing products. We're trying to design products that respond to the need of women. And this is very different. If you design a support with the mind of making women fit a table that wasn't designed for them, you'll design it completely differently from trying to find solutions to women's problems.
Providing access to finance to women, as everyone said, is the right thing to do because it's good for business. And I'll give you an example. We ran a statistical test because a speechwriter said she has a previous life in policy making in finance. I have a previous life in statistics. So we ran a test looking at our portfolio and trying to associate default, credit default, and gender. And it's not surprising because there's overwhelming evidence that women are better clients when it comes to repaying loans than men.
Inez Murray, CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women, highlighted the importance of public-private partnerships, calling for targeted policies and strategies that improve women's access to finance.
The banks are actually lending to the government instead of lending to the SME sector. So there's this issue of public sector crowding out the private sector in some ways in terms of investment, and this is common across many countries. And so for the banks, they really have to understand the business case. They need leadership that sees this opportunity. They need a regulatory environment that's enabling them to do it. And they need some kind of support sometimes to create more demand inside the market. It's not that demand isn't there, it's just that it's unmet demand and they don't really understand it.
According to the World Bank, the gender credit gap between men and women globally stands at around $6 trillion, demonstrating how significant disparity remains. Soraya Hakuziyarimye, governor of the Central Bank of Rwanda, noted that financial regulators must play a central role in addressing these gaps, particularly by creating sustainable mechanisms for inclusion in Rwanda's financial sector.
And the gender gap, both in access and usage, remains real. Only 8% of women have access to bank loans compared to 13% of men, highlighting a 5 percentage points gender gap in access to formal credit. And for too many women entrepreneurs, access to capital is still a daily struggle. And this is not just a Rwandan story, it's a global reality. According to the World Bank estimates, closing the global gender gap in entrepreneurship could unlock up to $6 trillion in economic value. And here in Rwanda, if we look at that proportion, we could potentially add $700 million to our GDP, translating into more jobs, stronger families, and measurable economic gains. And so our responsibility as regulators is not only to preserve financial stability, but to ensure that the financial system serves the real economy and all its people.
During this event, Rwanda officially launched the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code, a national data-driven initiative to accelerate financial access and growth opportunities for women-led businesses. First Lady Jeanette Kagame stated that women's economic power is no longer a peripheral one, but one that is at the epicenter of building resilient and inclusive economies.
These signatures have provided us with a solid foundation for this inclusive economy that we are building today. I applaud you. Dear guests, I do not see this code as just a policy. I see the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code as proof in action that the conversation around women's economic power is no longer a peripheral one, but one that is at the epicenter of building resilient, inclusive economies.
According to the 2024 FinScope Gender Report, access to financial services among women in Rwanda increased to 96% in 2024, up from 92% in 2020. The gender gap in accessing formal financial services, such as banks and registered financial institutions, also narrowed, decreasing from 7% in 2020 to 4% in 2025. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
For women-led MSMEs.
A bold step toward inclusive finance was marked with the launch of the We Finance Code here in Rwanda. And Ines Murray, the CEO of Financial Alliance for Women, has hailed the initiative as a powerful public-private movement committed to accountability, innovation, and data transparency to better serve women entrepreneurs. Take a look.
Sure. Well, it's a supply and a demand side problem. So on the demand side, women tend to be, they don't trust banks. They feel they're alien to them. They feel they're very formal. So that's one part of it. And then, and they can be slightly intimidated, I would say. Also, as the governor said, they need more financial education to really understand the role of formal financial services and so on, and digital financial services also. And then on the supply side, which are the financial services providers themselves, they really are struggling to understand the business case for serving women, as well as, if there's a challenge, I think, in many emerging markets that the banks are actually lending to the government instead of lending to the SME sector. So there's this issue of public sector crowding out the private sector in some ways in terms of investment, and this is common across many countries. And so for the banks, they really have to understand the business case. They need leadership that sees this opportunity. They need a regulatory environment that's enabling them to do it. And they need some kind of supports sometimes to create more demand inside the market. It's not that demand isn't there, it's just that it's unmet demand and they don't really understand it. So my background, I've done a lot of market research with low-income women around the world for many years, and you basically need to go and talk to them. Set up focus groups, follow, understand what their daily lives are about, and really hear from them what their challenges are. So understanding, and often the senior leaders in organizations don't really know the customer as well as they should. So you can design in a gender intelligent way if you actually go and talk to them and understand what their barriers are, and then come with your very creative team to actually unpack these issues and design for them. So it's about market research and gender intelligent design. Sure. Well, I think one of the, and it is in Africa as well, cash flow based lending is very important, right? So you need to go in. So in many countries, banks require too much collateral, and what they're trying to do is substitute kind of hard work of understanding what the businesses are about and their cash flows by asking them to put in property title and other kinds of collateral that women don't have. So it's about training your staff to go to the customer and actually create that cash flow for their business and their household. And then it's putting in policies and procedures that maybe reduce the kind of requirements necessary to get a loan. So it's this kind of adaptation of the current ways of working that's super important. And then we need to think about pathways, starting with a transaction account, then going to savings, then starting to go into lending, and really lending for productive purposes, not so much for consumer lending. Yes, of course, that's why we're here. So we're here because the Central Bank of Rwanda thought it would be interesting and opportune to launch the We Finance Code at the same time as we would have an international conference on women's financial inclusion. Our other partner here is the Access to Finance Rwanda, which does a lot of work building the enabling system. So they're a member of the Alliance. The Alliance is a membership-based organization, and they're a member, and every year we do a conference like this in one country where a member puts up their hand and says, yes, I'd like you to come and let's do a conference. So that's how that came together. But I will say, though, that the collaboration with the central bank started last September about, they have a fantastic team. They're truly committed to doing work. They've already done a lot of good work. And as the Governor mentioned, this We Finance Code is an opportunity to really build a coalition between the public and private sector and international partners also to really move the needle on women's participation as entrepreneurs, but also to grow their businesses, not just to do the micro businesses. We really need to be talking about fast growth startups and businesses that can create jobs. Sure, so the We Finance Code sets up a coalition. Okay, so that's a public-private sector partnership that's happening here. if this happens in other countries, and we believe that Uganda is going to, so it's already in Nigeria and Egypt, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, it's already launched in Tanzania. Right there, you have a cluster of countries that are implementing this code. It's going to be Republic of South Africa later in the year. There's an opportunity, and we're running a peer learning network of code champions in each country to get together and collaborate and learn what they're doing in each country. We believe actually there are many solutions that are already there. It's just about exchanging that know-how and learning together. So an international community of champions, that's what we're helping to facilitate as an alliance. And of course we hope that the Central Bank of Rwanda will join that coalition. Thank you very much.
Ines Murray, the CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women, speaking to RBA's Adam Squizera earlier. Now to security matters, and regional political and diplomatic analysts say that the return of the DRC's former president, Joseph Kabila, and his visit to areas controlled by the M23 group, which is fighting the Kinshasa government, marks a major step that has exerted significant pressure on the current leadership of the DRC. The news that the former president had entered territories controlled by M23 became public on Monday. The authenticity of this development was confirmed by senior leaders of the AFC M23, who have expressed great joy at Kabila's return and have warmly welcomed him. However, while celebrations erupted in Goma over Kabila's return, fears spread in Kinshasa. Kinshasa has once again blamed the crisis on Rwanda, with its government not hesitating to claim that Joseph Kabila and the leadership of the AFC M23 are supported by Rwanda. However, this accusation has been dismissed by analysts who argue that Congo's leadership has long failed to resolve its internal issues and has instead made Rwanda a scapegoat for decades. In an interview with the media on Sunday, former South African President Thabo Mbeki once again condemned the rhetoric of DRC leaders blaming M23 on Rwanda, and even going as far as to call Joseph Kabila a Rwandan.
And in Kinshasa is hostile to the Banyamulenge in Eastern Congo because they are Rwandan speaking. These are Congolese. Or take a posture like the one they are taking now about President Kabila. As you know, Joseph Kabila comes from Katanga.
Katanga region.
He comes from the Katanga region. You take a position in Kinshasa, you say, he's a traitor, he's supporting M23, they will punish him. The whole population of Katanga is going to be against that government in Kinshasa. It doesn't solve anything for the government in Kinshasa or the Congo. Because I'm saying that the governments in Kinshasa, even the current government, has not understood what was very clearly understood by Patrice Lumumba and others, that the task of the unification of the, you can negotiate that the government of the Congo and the government of Rwanda must meet and sign a peace agreement is fine. That is going to solve the problems of the Eastern Congo is wrong. This has been tried before, and we keep saying to the people, to everybody, the problems of the Eastern Congo are domestic to the Congo. They don't originate from outside of the borders of the Congo. So whatever the Americans have been doing to encourage Kinshasa and Kigali to get together and something, it does not solve the problems of the Congo. That problem must be solved by the Congolese people. So what the Africans have said, you remember when...
As you just heard, Thabo Mbeki has continued to emphasize that although various countries are making efforts to mediate the Rwanda-Congo tensions and the Congo M23 conflict, there will be no lasting solution to the insecurity that has plagued Eastern Congo for the past 30 years unless the DRC itself demonstrates genuine commitment to resolving the crisis.
You can negotiate that the government of the Congo and the government of Rwanda must meet and sign a peace agreement is fine. That is going to solve the problems of the Eastern Congo is wrong. This has been tried before, and we keep saying to the people, to everybody, the problems of the Eastern Congo are domestic to the Congo. They don't originate from outside of the borders of the Congo. So whatever the Americans have been doing to encourage Kinshasa and Kigali to get together and start running. It does not solve the problems of the Congo. That problem must be solved by the Congolese people. So what the Africans have said, you remember when...
It is anticipated that next month a treaty aimed at ending insecurity in the eastern DRC will be signed in the United States. Now, the African Federation of Institutions of Internal Auditors Conference is taking place and has brought together internal auditors from over 20 countries convening here in Kigali to tackle governance challenges and explore emerging technologies reshaping the field. William Evans Mutabazi with more on that.
This conference provides an invaluable opportunity to exchange ideas.
With delegates drawn from across the continent, the 11th African Federation of Institutes of Internal Auditors Conference is underway in Kigali under the theme Building Bridges, Inspiring Change. This professional federation now operates in 29 African countries, promoting excellence, ethics, and impact in internal auditing.
Today, from the 11 countries, Afia's presence has grown to 29 out of the 54 countries in Africa, and we continue to work with 11 other countries to grow the footprint of the internal audit profession. Therefore, this 3 days conference is not just about conversations and presentations. It's about forging connections, it's about strengthening our profession and inspiring the transformation that will shape Africa's future.
According to the Global Chair of the Institute of Internal Auditors, one of the key outcomes of this 11th AFIA conference is a renewed call to all internal auditors to champion good governance practices that uplift institutions, people, and society at large.
Where we're looking at how do we bring Africa together as a continent and think about how do we inspire the next generation of governance, audit, risk, and control professionals to really add value to our organizations and to society in general, because that's what our goal and purpose is. Governance is all about shining a flashlight and putting light to where darkness is and showing people why it makes sense to follow good corporate governance and to really what are the risks that we're trying to address and what are the controls and good practices in place to really make sure that we can lift up people, our organizations, to society in general. In internal audits, we're exactly positioned to be able to do those things. And so I think that's the reason why we really, here and now, is the perfect place to be.
Rwanda's Minister of State for National Treasury, Honorable Godfrey Kabera, emphasized the dual value of this gathering as both a high-level networking opportunity and a powerful learning platform for professionals in Rwanda.
Things like use of technology, things like adopting things like AI, building ethics and integrity in the function, strengthening professionalism, using data analytics, and so many more. So it's really an exciting opportunity for our country and also for the internal auditors that are attending this meeting.
The Global Institute of Internal Auditors is a professional body representing over 260,000 members worldwide, including more than 25,000 members from Africa alone, making it a crucial conference for shaping the future of the profession across the continent. William Evans, RwandaTV News.
15 youth entrepreneurial projects that have shown that they provide sustainable solutions to major health challenges in Africa have been presented with awards, with each receiving $25,000 from the Timbuktu Health Tech Hub, which is headquartered here in Kigali. We have the details with Gladys Benimana.
However,
Emmanuel Kamuhire from Uganda was awarded for an innovation technology he developed that helps doctors easily locate veins. Elizabeth Ahomuza from Rwanda was recognized for a digital solution designed to enhance the knowledge and skills of healthcare workers.
So my solution is the Elite Vein Locator. Now, this is a non-invasive medical device which uses red light to ease the finding of veins in patients. You know how you go to the hospital and then they have to give you medication through the vein, so the doctor doesn't have to prick you so many times. This time you use the device, you see the vein, you go in once and you have the medication.
So we are addressing the fact that 1 in every 10 patients is harmed in healthcare. right? About 2.6 million people die in low and middle income countries annually. This is because of medical errors and unsafe healthcare practices that are linked to inadequate training of healthcare professionals. So we ensure that we train our professionals because Africa has only 3% of the global entire workforce, and yet we have 24% of the global disease burden. So we have to train our professionals because we have few and we can't afford for them not to have the necessary skills for the setting in which they are actually practicing. Now, the current available content is is not tailor-made to the way the African setting is. It's very Western. So we make sure that we bring in local experts to create that content so that when our professionals use it, it's applicable when they start practicing in hospitals.
Natalie Jabangwe, the Executive Secretary of Timbuktu Health Tech, thanked the government of Rwanda for its significant efforts in launching this hub and emphasized that these youth-led projects are expected to play a crucial role in the continent's development.
But never forget, you have giants on whose shoulders you stand. You are not alone. You are now part of a continental movement backed by Timbuktu, the UNDP, our partners, and our governments in Africa, who are backing these by their infrastructure and putting taxpayers' money into this to create the next generation. Never done before on the African continent. The first model to achieve this.
The UNDP resident representative, Fatmata Loveta Sesei, appreciated the way Rwanda has prioritized the use of technology in addressing various global challenges.
Timbuktu is setting the stage for how the United Nations and African countries can co-create a new model for inclusive growth through startups, not just through subsidies, through innovation, not just through interventions. And Rwanda has been a proud host of this movement. So our government, private sector, and youth ecosystems have rallied behind the idea that solutions can and should emerge from within. And that's why at this point we really want to thank His Excellency the President of Rwanda, who is a believer in newness. Many will be scared of the risk of newness, but the President believes in ideas, and he has really supported Timbuktu, and one of the first countries in Africa that has actually provided seed money.
These young entrepreneurs spent 5 months in a boot camp in South Africa, organized in partnership with the international consortium Startup Bootcamp. Out of 40 participants, 15 were selected based on the strength and impact of their projects. Dr. Ivan Mutera, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, expressed his appreciation for these health tech projects, highlighting their importance in improving the well-being of people across Africa, particularly in Rwanda.
So you're on the right track. Partnership is important. You'll have to iterate your products many times to optimize, to scale, but I think you've already taken off. Very soon you'll reach cruising altitudes, and with that you'll already break the barrier of the speed, sound, and other things. So just keep up, and here we are here to support you, to see you having a lot of success. From moving from diagnostics, I saw screening things that are very important, diagnostic preventive services, a lot of them are there, and it's very good because not only is good for health, preventive services are the best, but it's also economically sound. These
15 health technology projects are currently being used by more than 3 million people across 15 countries and have attracted over $6 million in investment.
And now Gladys Wenimana with that report. Now the RwandaTV board, in collaboration with Rwanda Polytechnic, has announced planned activities for both institutions, including a week dedicated to showcasing what is produced within them. On Thursday, a total of 4,562 students who studied at Rwanda Polytechnic will be awarded diplomas and certificates across various fields. The Director General of Rwanda Polytechnic, Sylvie Mucho, highlighted the uniqueness of this cohort, noting that nearly half of them have already secured employment.
Thing is that we have new programs that have started 3 years ago, and they are graduating today. In these programs we have electrical automation, mechatronics, and also airport and airline management, and logistics and supply chain operations. So these programs are new that we are graduating now on top of other 34 programs that were already graduating. And these graduates of ours, they are skilled, they have good technical skills, they have good communication skills, they have been trained to be problem solvers. So some of them actually, we according to our numbers, around 40% have gotten employment before they graduate. And also some of these have also started their own businesses.
RTB has organized a dedicated week to promote awareness about its work, aiming to help Rwandans understand available opportunities and explore ways to collaborate with various sectors, including the private sector. This was highlighted by Paul Mukunzi, the Director General of RTB.
Yes, starting from the 1st of June to the 5th of June, so we have this TVET week with a theme, we called it Rwanda Future Skills Forum, so where we have 3 major events. So the first one is the TVET Expo, so which will take place from the 1st to the 5th of June in Kanchigali, where we shall have quite a good number of TVET schools together with companies. They will be showcasing the entire skills development system of the country, and they will also will be showcasing the current labor market and the opportunities we have on our labor market. So in such a way that young people who will visit this exhibition, so we understand the current level of skills development in our country and the labor market requirements, and they will be able to choose their preferred career pathways as they join our technical education schools. So the second activity will be a skills competition, so which will take place also in Kanchigali from the 2nd to the 5th of June. So where we shall have quite a good number of young people, talented young people, showcasing the level of the skills they have in a competition way, whereby also expect that the visitors who will go there and see these young people competing, they will be amazed of the level of the skills that they have. So the third major event that we have is an international conference. We call it Global Skills Connect. So where we have experts from 27 different countries meeting in Kigali to discuss about skills development at a global scale. So here we want to learn from some countries which are advanced in terms of economic development, and the level of skills they have in their countries is higher than the level of the skills development in Rwanda. So we want to learn from them. So African countries will be learning from developed countries from the West, from Europe and Asia country. And then from these discussions, we shall shape the future journey of skills development in Rwanda and on the African continent. That is the purpose of this conference. So it will take place at Marriott Hotel from the 4th to the 5th of June, so next week.
The RwandaTV board has further announced that the government's goal of establishing at least one vocational school in every sector of the country has now been achieved. Currently, 43% of students completing primary school are enrolled in technical, vocational and skills-based training programs, a group that largely continues their education through the various departments of Rwanda Polytechnic. Now, Muslims going to the holy pilgrimage to Mecca have been urged to uphold Rwandan values and pray for the country and its leadership during their journey. The pilgrims are grateful that through the collaboration between the government of Rwanda, Rwandair and the Muslim community, they have been provided with a dedicated flight that takes them directly to the Holy Land, allowing them to focus on prayer and peace. Normally, Rwandair does not operate direct flights to Mecca, but for the safety and comfort of Rwandans, special arrangements have been made so that Muslim pilgrims are transported directly and will be flown back after the pilgrimage. This is part of the government's ongoing efforts to provide homegrown solutions to its citizens' needs. The Mufti of Rwanda, Sheikh Musa Sindaigaya, has called on all those embarking on the pilgrimage to uphold Rwandan values and pray for the country and its leaders while in the Holy Land.
Moments. Laying hooks. Giving away.
family, Inyange is always there. Whatever the occasion, whatever the moment, always ask for Inyange.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byarangiye nandize amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
Many of them are children who are malnourished. The government says the crisis is partly due to environmental reasons such as drought, but aid agencies say cuts to funding are worsening an already dire situation. Al Jazeera with the details.
Mothers at a nutrition center in Mogadishu bring their children in for treatment. Most have fled from villages in different parts of the country because there is no food. It's planting season, but their home in Lower Shabelle region has not received much rain. Abshiro Guhad Abdi says she and her children came to the city so they don't starve.
I came to this place recently. I have 11 children. 3 have died because of conflict and hunger. It took us 5 days to travel to Mogadishu.
Health workers are worried about the condition of children being brought here.
We are overwhelmed by the large number of displaced people. Pregnant mothers have problems, children are severely malnourished. The numbers keep increasing every week, every month.
Environmentalists say these are effects of climate change. Aid workers are struggling to get resources to help with the crisis. Recent U.S. aid cuts have made the situation worse.
We foresee starvation that is going to happen. We foresee young girls dropping out of school and families marrying off their young daughters to save and find food for their families. We, of course, are going to see mass exodus, displacement, and people trying to move over to other countries, you know, to Kenya, to Ethiopia. We have neighboring countries. People going to look for a source of livelihood.
Humanitarian organizations say more than 1 million people are on the brink of starvation. A quarter are children below 5 years old. Many are living in such camps on the outskirts of the city.
The worst problem is that we have no place to take our children for treatment. Every place needs money. We have been here for 3 weeks.
This is not the only problem in Somalia. The government is also struggling to contain the Al-Shabaab armed group that has killed and displaced people and caused widespread destruction for decades. People in this camp say right now they just want to keep their children alive. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera.
That is all we have time for. We thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this edition. Stay with Rwanda Television, and goodbye.
Umugoroba mwiza kuri mwese mudukurikiye, tubahaye ikaze ku makuru y'iteganyagihe mwateguriwe n'ikigo cy'u Rwanda cy'ubumenyi bw'ikirere Meteo Rwanda, mukaba mugiye kuyagezwaho nanjye Prote Dushimiye Imana.